57 News.
Thank you for joining ABC 57 News at 5. I'm Tim Spears. Brian and Jennifer are off. Tomorrow marks 40 years since the murder of Darlene Hulse, a 28-year-old mother from Marshall County. And 40 years later, her case remains unsolved. The murder mystery getting the attention of true crime podcasters who are renewing calls for the Marshall County prosecutor to take action on the decades-old cold case. ABC 57's Annie Kate joins us live in Argos after talking to Darlene's daughter. Annie.
Hey, Tim, this is the kind of murder case that continues to shock and scare. We're talking about an intruder coming into someone's home and attacking a young mother who's roughly my age, while she had 2 daughters in the bathtub and a baby at home. This is the kind of cold case that can shake a community's sense of safety, and it lends itself to rumors, conspiracies, and finger pointing, and it renews calls for answers.
Just 40 years with no answers. Like, why?
We have 40 years and really no answers.
40 years since the murder of Darlene Hulse in Marshall County, just outside of Argos.
August the 17th, 1984, the town of Argos lost its innocence.
An intruder entered Darlene's family house while her husband was at work. 2 little girls in the bathtub, a baby at home. As the man is attacking their mom, Darlene screams her last words to her girls to run. Naked and wet, the girls ran the short distance to their grandparents, who called for help, but it was too late. Darlene's body was found in the woods about 6 miles away.
That day, things changed. All of a sudden, you had people that were afraid, people that weren't letting their kids out to play.
That's the owner of the funeral home that hosted Darlene's funeral back in 1984. Her case went cold. All these years later, the killer has never been named.
Pushes me because I want to know who, what, when, where, why, how.
The baby who was home during Darlene's attack was Kristen Rooks.
I go through waves of frustration, and I go through waves of wanting to take action and reach out to people and try to get something done. It's very frustrating that I know that they can be doing something, but they're just not. Either they don't have the tools or the knowledge or the capability.
Rooks is frustrated, saying she doesn't get updates on her mom's case, whether from the Indiana State Police or the Marshall County Prosecutor's Office, who oversees the case.
As far as we know, the last thing we've heard is that they were testing. But we've been hearing this for years, so I just don't understand why they won't call us back or just let us know something.
Rooks is fighting for answers, and several years ago, she learned a partial DNA profile was collected from Darlene's clothing. It's not a full profile that could be entered into a national system.
But what they can do is one-on-one testing with known suspects.
She also wants more of Darlene's items tested for DNA.
There are avenues available today that weren't available in 1984. I want to say those little girls, they're not little anymore, but those girls deserve answers of what happened.
The case and those calls for DNA testing brought to the forefront last year with the Deck Investigates podcast, hosted by Ashley Flowers, who I spoke to back in October.
I can't imagine being in their position and having this person basically stand in the way of solving your mother's murder. And I don't understand why the people who are in power aren't more frustrated. I don't understand why people in Marshall County aren't more frustrated.
Flowers says prosecutor Nelson Chipman is the gatekeeper to the case and worries he's not acting in the best interest of the victim's family.
The person who's in charge of making sure this gets solved doesn't seem to have the time or the knowledge of the case or the resources to actually make that happen.
Whether that testing is happening or not, we don't know. Prosecutor Chipman has also denied my requests for an interview.
DNA has advanced so much, month to month, year to year. I think there's a lot more that can be done. So unfortunately, the next steps are in the hands of Nelson Chipman and the Indiana State Police.
I just want to know that I've done everything that I can. I can lay my head down at night knowing that there's nothing else that can be done. And until I reach that point, I'm going to keep going.
Now, tomorrow at the Argos Town Cemetery, the Earl-Grossman Funeral Home will hold a gathering at Darlene's grave between 9:15 and 9:45. Now, that's the time of day that she is believed to have been killed. Darlene's daughters and families will also gather themselves. They now live very far away from Indiana, and they will watch via a live stream because the folks at the Death Investigates podcast plan to be there tomorrow and will live stream on their social media. Now, I reached out to Prosecutor Nelson Chipman today, and I have not heard back just yet. Reporting live in Argos, I'm Annie Kate, ABC 57 News.